I want to thank you for all the hard work that you have done, as you had mentioned, standing up against Ottawa, fighting for our freedoms. We do have a bit of a concern with Alberta Health Services, though. We were able to, as you said, dismantle the Super Board, which really didn't have as much clout as the College of Physicians and Surgeons. That's our problem. There are still issues between them and telling our doctors what they can do and what they can't do. They've completely controlled them. They've captured them, and we are kind of tired of it. I just heard actually today that there was a small unregistered nurse that was going to have a small health unit in Saddle Hills, and it's not going to be under Alberta Health Services. People are going to run to that because we don't trust Alberta Health Services. And it was great that we removed the chief medical officer, but to be honest, when we all got that little bit of a blip that, yeah, the nod really didn't come from her in the first place, it maybe came from government anyway, it still doesn't give us tons of confidence that we're not going to get locked down again, like no matter who gives the nod. But we definitely are concerned about, and I get that there's not legislation right now for you to do anything with that, but we're paying them, and they get the lion's share of our money. What, can we not introduce legislation? Can we not change legislation to dismantle and get rid of some of that bureaucracy? Because I don't love that I go to see my doctor and he's basing my health care on what Alberta Health Services, when he works part-time in South Africa, where he can give prescriptions that were needed here and wasn't able to here in Alberta.
There's sort of two different things so I would have loved to have done the same thing to the College of Physicians and Surgeons, but I discovered that half of the board is elected by the doctors, so it would require us to have a change to the Professions Act in order to bring it in, which we're doing. So Mickey Avery is beginning the process of examining all of the professions to see if all of them have gone beyond their mandate. Because I mean, if you watch what Jordan Peterson is going through in his mandatory re-education, like that is because he put some mean tweets out about Justin Trudeau. That's an absurd reason for somebody to go through and face a disciplinary action. If you look at the Law Society are forcing their lawyers to get woke education on any number of issues. That's not what they're there for. They're there to make sure that lawyers don't steal from their trust funds to do investments in real estate. Like, seriously, there's certain things that we've empowered these agencies to do. And doctors are supposed to be there to make sure that there isn't malpractice that hurts someone. I hired Dr. Gary Davidson, who is one of the, I called him my red team. I said, we know that there was sort of a consensus view on everything that happened during COVID, but I want the red team view. Give me the critical view. So he's given me some advice on some of the changes that we can make to ensure that doctors have the ability to practice medicine in their full scope of practice. He tells me that as much as 75% of drugs that have been approved by Health Canada have different off-label uses, and as long as they're safe and the doctor's talking to their patient about it and they aren't giving them excessive doses, which might cause harm, and they're watching for any kind of adverse reaction, doctors have always had the latitude to be able to prescribe. So we've got to restore that. So there is a couple of stage process in being able to bring the college back under control and ensure that they're only focusing on the issues of true discipline. And for Alberta Health Services, let me tell you, if I can try to describe what we're doing. Alberta Health Services was slowly but surely taking over all aspects of our government. And we were giving them basically all the money to deliver services, and then we were giving them the power to contract to their competitors, which they were doing, but they were shortchanging them on contracts. So when their contractors would come back and say, we can't afford to do it for this price, they'd say, oh no, don't worry, we'll take it over from you then. They were hoarding patients, and they still are. We have as many as 1,500 patients who should be in alternative levels of care. And then they were also judging their own performance, and they said, we're doing just great, just give us more money. So what we've done instead is we've moved a lot of those functions back to Alberta Health. And so AHS is simply going to be a service provider. They are not going to control Covenant Health. They are not going to control the charter surgical centers. They are not going to control the primary care hiring and establishment of practices. They're not going to control mental health and addiction, and they're not going to control assisted living. So that is what we're doing, is we are slowly taking away all of the authorities that we've already taken away Indigenous health, and we've also already are in the process of taking away public health. That is what we have to do. We have to focus Alberta Health Services on providing hospital services in the 106 facilities they operate on our behalf. And if it turns out that they're not doing a great job of managing those facilities, then we'll find another operator. We're already having Covenant Health take over the health facility in La Creek. And I'm prepared to see if we need to do that in other facilities because they're not performing the way we need them to, then we're going to do that. We've also made Alberta Health Quality Council. We've put a new board in there, and we're also going to be shoring up their budget so that they have the power to assess the performance of each of our hospitals, and they'll give us guidance if there's an underperforming hospital. So we're in process on all of that. I know it's a slow process, but we are absolutely moving at lightning speed.
Just to clarify, so there is a process to dissolve the college of physicians?
Not to dissolve it, but we're going to change the Professions Act so that we can rein them in on disciplinary items to restore the ability of doctors to prescribe again.
So they'll still have power over them?
But you have to have somebody who has power. Like, look at this person who was billing $700,000 a year by pretending she had patients who for plastic surgery. Like, there are some doctors who do bad things, and so we do need to have a college, but they need to be focused on the things that are actually harming patients and not ripping off taxpayers. That's what we've got to get them back
And you
into.
would say that half of them were elected?
Half of them are
So
elected.
we can elect other ones that maybe
We appoint half of them as public, doctors elect them half. So if you have doctor friends who want to get on that board, they've got to go through the process of lobbying for that.
Great, thank you.
Madam Premier.